Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Res
with your favorite hosts,
Larry
and Inelia. It's okay.
Yep, cruising down I-5 on our way to the res, a long way around.
Long way around to the res, huh?
Real long way around
Real
the
long
res.
ways, yeah. So, what would you like to talk about today, darling?
You know, there was a few things going on. We got 4th of July today or tomorrow or the next day. I think we're going to go searching for fossil coins.
Oh, yes. Let's go to Fossil Beach.
Fossil Beach.
Yeah.
And it made me think about cryptos. And I remember I was listening to somebody chatting about cryptos today. And they said, oh boy, FOMO. You know what the FOMO means?
Yes. Fear of missing out.
Right. Usually the fear of missing out happens when you're about missed out.
Yes.
Because it's a little bit like happened already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Said the FOMO is going to hit the end of the month.
For cryptos.
Yep. So if you ain't got them,
Get them
you
now.
might get them now. Because, you know, why not?
I had a feeling the other day that the dips are over, that it's going to go up now, but obviously it's all speculative. You might lose all your money on crypto, you may not lose all your money on crypto, you might make millions of dollars on crypto.
You might make $100.
You might make $100. Yeah.
Or in some ways, I think that part of the cryptos thing is, and that was one of the reasons I never even bought any cryptos, was because you could make $1,000, but a dollar wasn't worth anything. And so
I don't think it's going to be that way, though.
I
don't
know.
think it's about that.
I know, but that's what I thought.
Right.
So I was like, well, so what if it's worth $1,000? If $1,000 is worth a penny, doesn't matter.
But I don't think it's because of that it's going to be worth so much money soon.
How about that was the other thing we were thinking about, that was the Dentalia shells.
The what?
Dentalia shells?
Oh, the Tatalia shells?
Dentalia, yeah.
Yeah.
Money, before there was money.
Yeah.
Now it ain't money.
No, it ain't money.
But it is still pretty shell.
Yeah, I think that relationship comes in because I think there is a transfer of monetary systems coming up very soon. And it's going from physical money to digital money.
Now that's when I was listening to another friend of ours. Well, I guess I associate them as friends, even though they don't know I'm their friend yet.
They don't know that you exist yet.
No, they're not aware of me yet, but I'm still their friend.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, she was talking about that. They had a thing they were calling going direct.
Going direct.
Going direct. Skip the whole middleman thing, going direct.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
that was an
yes.
interesting take on the situation. Because most of us look at it and go, this is so bizarre. It does not make any sense at all. I mean, anybody can see, really, if they look, there's something fishy going on.
On the planet right now.
Yeah, on the planet right now. What is it about? It surely can't be about a pandemic thing. I mean, come on. Yeah, okay, some people have died. But some people are already, and always have been dying. And if you put them under a bunch of stress and all that other stuff, probably more than normal would die.
Yeah.
And, you know, the symptoms are attributed to this or to that or to any other thing. But by any real count, it's not dramatically obvious, right?
Right.
Not to the degree that you shut the whole world down,
Mm-hmm.
pay everybody unemployment for 10 years, give them double. So there's something else going on. Something fishy with this whole thing. And it smacks dab of the right hand's showing you what's going on while the left hand's doing something else.
Yeah.
And you don't have a clue what's going
The
on in the magician's left hand, right?
Yeah, the distraction.
And also smacks dab of the out of chaos comes order. One of those secret societies figure.
There's no chaos. There's absolutely no chaos. Everything's perfectly planned and executed.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I remember we were talking about, listening to yet one more of our friends talking, and that was the Higherself chat boy. Remember he was talking about I just don't know. It doesn't seem like this plan would work, because how could they want XYZ when this would do XYZ? But one of the things I think is often easy to forget is that there's more than one plan, and there's more than one set of like agendas going on. So it could be, here's the first wave of shots. These ones are
one agenda,
empty. So everybody gets them, looks, hey, see, no problem. The next set of shots, these ones are not so good. And all the volunteers, the ones that just listen to useless eater or whatever, they go for them. And then the next set of shots, you're going to pay me $5 million to go get a shot and a donut? I'm going. So there's another self-sorted.
Don't forget, you won't be able to travel in the future if you don't get it now. So.
And the ones that are ruled by, or the ones that want whatever, it's like they're self-sorting itself based on timing and promotion or whatever they call it,
right.
incentive,
Incentives.
or threat. Who responds to threat? Those ones got this batch. So who responds to bribery? These ones got this shot. So it's like, I wonder what that sort is. Does that sound like it's like maybe that's happening?
We did talk about that, didn't we? We talked about that a few days ago.
Yeah.
About how it does feel like there's a sorting going on among the people who are getting the jab. And that conversation started because a woman, a nurse, was accidentally scanned by a chip finder.
And she had a chip in there.
She had a chip number. The chip number came up on her jab area. And she was like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, totally wouldn't. She totally wouldn't have reacted that way if it was actually, I mean, I think that was a pet chip reader, and she put a pet chip in her sleeve.
Oh, okay.
She was being a stinker.
Oh, she was being a stinker.
Trying to make fun of people who are like, what's going on here?
Oh,
It's like, oh, here's what's going on. You're getting tagged, and here's the code.
Right.
But
she can clean after?
No, somebody else looked at the code reader and said, oh, that's a pet code reader.
Well, it was obvious from the video that it was a pet code reader.
Right, the pet code is a little chip thing they inject in you. And on one sleeve of her shirt had this little tag, remember? And on the other seat it was bare.
Oh, okay.
So it was like underneath the little tag or something.
Okay. Well,
nobody else had that
the conversation started from...
Yeah, that inspired our conversation.
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
inspired that conversation.
Maybe they're sorting people too. It's not just a straight, every shot is this. Some of them are as a consequence of the reason that the person came in to get that. Mm-hmm. And also, obviously, the people who are not getting any. Those are also sorted themselves.
3 of my relatives that got the shot, distant relatives, kind of entourage, started getting really powerful vertigo the past week.
Yep. It has an effect. You just don't know what effect it is on what person and what duration of time. Yeah. So, and your son, he had nosebleeds too, remember?
He was hanging out with people who were vaccinated. He's not vaccinated. He was hanging out with a whole bunch of people in a closed car. They're all vaccinated, and then he started nose bleeding, and it lasted like a day or two. It didn't stop.
Yeah, we don't get out of our cocoon too much. Everything's perfectly normal where we live.
I know. It's it's totally normal where we live.
Or maybe even a little bit magical. Yeah. I think our instant manifestation workshops and the people that have been involved in it and the experiences they've had have been pretty darn remarkable.
Extraordinary, actually. Yes. I'm really, really happy that they're implementing the methodology and they're using the work and the tools, because this is what it was about, right? Really powerful light workers.
Yeah, really powerful light workers.
To start creating and co-creating this beautiful planet existence.
Having excellent allies to co-create with. Look at the cows in the
river.
Excellent.
Wow, there's cows in the river. Must be hot out there.
It must be warm. I haven't seen cows swimming very much.
No.
Okay, hardly ever.
Anyway, co-creators, powerful, awakened co-creators who can quickly work through stuff with the co-creators. Clean up their entourage,
Yeah.
And work on their programs and firewalls and barriers. The why yes and why not now and why not and all those things and all the other tools that we teach in the instant manifestation workshop. They're implementing them and they're having amazing results. Really, really outstanding. Very happy that they're doing this work. Really happy about that.
Poor puppy. She's just fell over. No bump, no turn, no nothing.
Just fell
donk.
over. Oh, no.
She must have fallen asleep.
Yeah, I think she fell asleep.
It's a long ride to the res today.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of clearing up your entourage, that's something that we've been reading together each evening, chapter 2 or maybe 3 or 4 pages till my mouth starts going sideways.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I'm sitting there reading the book out loud, and then my mouth quits working.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blue. I guess we're done reading today, honey. So is Dr. Zinser's book and Dr. Zinser's friend's book, another doctor. They're exploring possessions, earthbound spirits, ego states. They're psychologists and they have therapists or something like that.
Yeah, they're therapists.
Doctor therapists. And they were reaching the limitations of their own process that they were taught. And so when they explored a new process, I've probably heard this story before with other doctors, like Dr. Weiss, didn't he do that too?
Yeah.
They reach a place in their practice where they start to use hypnosis. When they use hypnosis, they find these spontaneous expressions of either past lives or other beings.
Entities.
Or entities, right, speaking.
Yeah.
And when they test their experience of what they're saying with the person, it oftentimes resolves their issue entirely. If they, many times, if they just go relive that thing, that thing that's causing the block, as long as they make it conscious, and they're, I think, at the therapist to resolve it, those two things together resolves it sometimes. And then other times, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But it's like they're talking about the ones that they come to treatment, they've been in their treatment for a year, and
sometimes
it's like no progress.
Some of them
and they're hospitalized, right? Or they're
serious issues.
Serious issues.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
or addictions and stuff like that. Serious addicts.
But in the exploration, they find there's a bigger world than the world that they are trained to believe in, and as they encounter it over and over and over again, it's impossible to ignore.
Right.
They say, at first, they'll say, well, whether it's real or it's made up, the only thing I care about is it resolves their issue. But by the end of it, they're like, okay, it's too many times. This is real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impossible to refute.
Uh-huh.
So that brought up the clearing up your entourage part of this, where people might have possessions. What do you think about that?
I have seen it and I have experienced it myself, and it is true that a lot of the possessions that are happening on the planet are alcohol-based or drug-based. The spirits, right? I've talked about this so many times. If you're going to do mystical work, or if you want to be an instant manifestor, or if you want to be a powerful individual, stop drinking alcohol and don't stop drinking, taking drugs, quite honestly. And these people figured it out decades ago as well.
Yeah,
That's
these are
brings
not.
it in.
These books are so old. I had to order them from bookstores that have. These are hardcover books with the plastic on the outside, like the library when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's the age scale. So, it's not new info. And all of them said the same things, like every single patient with possession, every one of them had at some point alcohol involved.
Right.
Or every one of the
drugs.
alcohol involved or drugs involved had a possession.
Yeah. Or
so
sometimes an operation where you
or an
put
operation,
under
which is
drugs.
basically drugs, put you under.
Yeah. But anyways, the trauma operation and stuff like that, Also relatives.
And trauma. There were traumas that brought it. It's not like everyone that had a possession was an alcoholic. It was that everyone who was an alcoholic or a drug addict or had been drugged also had a possession.
Or many.
Because once you have one, they kind of team up and say, hey, free ride here. And they kind of lower your frequency or vibration or whatever.
And that opens
it opens the door for more. And
Yeah.
another one comes, another one. And they like to hang out in groups, which is like soul groups. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's lost soul, earthbound spirit, whatever.
So, the possession thing that I experienced was from my mom. After she died, I went to Chile and I was hanging out with all her sisters.
Yeah.
And my mom said, hey, is it okay if I borrow into your body so that I can talk to my sisters? And I just want to see them and feel them and talk to them again. It was a random day in that dinner table. I said, okay, yeah, but only for a few minutes, okay? And I said, yeah, okay. And she came in and it was really yucky, disgusting feeling. But she started, and I allowed her to use my mouth, she could speak. And then all of a sudden, two of her sisters looked at me and she says, oh my God, you look exactly like our sister, your mom. You look exactly like your mom. Exactly, like identical to your mom. And I was just smiling because I actually don't. But it was they were actually seeing my mom in my body. And then one of them said, oh, she was here. Well, I wonder what she would think about XYZ. And I said, well, if my mom was here, she would say, and then I let her speak, right? So it was a really nice afternoon. And then I said, okay, now off you go. And she left. And then that night, I went to sleep. And then I actually woke up from snoring. And I don't snore.
Oops.
Yeah.
No, you don't snore. I know you don't.
And my mom used to snore like a trooper. And that's how I was snoring. And I woke up and I said, really? I gave you permission earlier for a little bit, but that was it. You do not have permission to come into my body again. And she's like, but I miss feeling things, and I won't do anything, and all this type of stuff. And I said, nope, not gonna happen. You gotta leave, and you're not coming back. So she said, okay, I'll just hang out with my sisters then.
Oh no.
So she did. She stayed in that house for quite a while, but at least she didn't get back into my body. So, but yeah, it's not a very pleasant experience.
Well, these people we're reading about don't even know that that's happening, other than they're unhappy with their life or the way it's going, or they're placed there because their lives are falling apart and they're like last resort.
We have to understand though that most people, I would say when they sober up, they're no longer possessed. But some people stay possessed. But those are extreme cases. It's not common. It's not like everybody on the planet is constantly possessed. And what I've seen with people who drink alcohol is like Jekyll and Hyde kind of syndrome. You can be 100% sure that that's a possession. And even like when they keep that door open for that spirit or whatever, because sometimes what I've seen also a lot of is when a person is, and I've seen it mostly in men who are kind of they have weak personalities, or they're very small for a man, and they got bullied in school. I've seen that negative entities, which I would, you can call demons, but I call demons really negative entities, dark source entities, come in and say, hey, I'm very powerful and I know how to play this game. You let me in and I'll help you, and I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to make all these people, I'm going to show them. And they say, okay, they say okay because of that weakness and their shyness or whatever it is.
They probably also even say it, hey, anybody there, spirit world, can help me with this. I'm weak and I really need somebody to help.
Sometimes they invite them in,
invite them in. Probably even through the way that they feel, simply by that feeling of I'm powerless and incapable.
Right.
That's the open door invitation.
Yes, yeah.
or whatever.
So I have seen that in a lot of men.
How about women who are abused
No,
in
I
abusive
haven't.
situations?
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it in women. Some women, the only woman I can think of that I'm pretty sure she was possessed because of there was an overlay of like negativity all over her. I don't know. It feels like she was possessed, and it was mostly through greed.
Yeah.
Really wanting certain things, and she wasn't a pretty woman, and she felt like pretty women got everything.
Yeah.
So she had that overlay, and at first sight she looked extremely beautiful and elegant, cultured, and all these type of things. But if you hang out with her for a little while, you could almost see through the overlay, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all, not even physically pretty. So I'm thinking it's because of the pretty woman kind of jealousy thing, because she did mention and she did say some comments to me and my sister that were pretty nasty. About us and the way we look, because we are pretty, we're naturally beautiful women. And she did say certain things and was like, whoa, it's like, wow, why would she say that type of thing,
Kinda, I don't know.
So I'm thinking,
Kinda not in.
and she was like really nice and friendly one moment, and she
Yeah.
would turn, So when they turn like that, it just feels like when people say multiple personalities and things like that, it feels that way. After reading those books, right, and putting the dots together and thinking, maybe, I think maybe that one was one of them. But definitely I haven't met an alcoholic who hasn't been possessed. Drinking, right? Who hasn't given up the drink. I haven't met one. Or drug addict who is not possessed. I haven't met one. I've sometimes met children, and it's really, really sad when that happens. It's usually the children of alcoholics and drug addicts. They're perfectly fine little children one day, and then the next day they have this other thing inside of them, like a weird look in their eyes. It's like somebody else is looking through their eyes. And I go, oh, dang it, That's sad. That's really, really sad.
Yeah, but when we're reading the books, the method to get rid of them is pathetically simple, and it's a little bit related to our higher self conversation we had the other week.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost strange. It's like you have the conversation with the healer person who basically just drives the conversation and somehow brings around agreement from the self to no longer agree to being possessed, basically.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right. But you need
And
to
the
get
higher
that
self,
agreement.
the higher self already knows what is going on, already agrees to, eject it or not have it or no longer welcome it. But it's because of the permission that the baser self, the smaller self, has made, that it has and encourages and keeps the possession going, even, right?
Yeah, so the hardest
It's like
part is
complicated
getting that
because-
person to agree to not have that entity with them anymore.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
kind of
really
like
tough.
it's kind of like the brainwashed people don't know they're brainwashed because they're brainwashed.
Exactly. And some people will say, but I'm strong with this, I don't want to get rid of it, but I love
this
my
helps
mom.
me.
I want my mom with me all the time, whatever.
Right, and those are examples of where the agreement is there at the physical level to continue it, and the higher self is only wishing for you to continue to have the experience you want to have. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Even though the higher self and you are the same self?
Yeah, it's the different levels of awareness. So you shrink your awareness to have experiences on planet Earth. You have to shrink it like enormous amounts. I would say of your proper self, you use probably 0.000000001% of your awareness, and that's too big. That's probably too big.
So you need to take alcohol and drugs to make it a little smaller too.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, the alcohol and drugs, you make it even smaller, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, then. But why? So the question that most people think, I thought, is like, if the higher self knows this, why does it allow it to go on? Why doesn't it, like, say, hey, wake up?
Sometimes they do, and that's why they go to a person like the ones in the book, right?
That's kind of what I thought, is that's why they end up where they ended up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because the higher self and the regular self have orchestrated the situation to be such that this experience is over and I would like to change it.
Yeah.
Not, oh, this situation is untenable, it's terrible. It's more like, we're done with this experience and we would like another, thank you.
Yes.
In order to orchestrate it, here's what we'll do. We'll go see this psychologist who knows about past lives and can bring about past life regression, or this one who knows about possessions, who can bring about a depossession.
Yeah.
Or this book, which introduces you the concept, wakens you, expands you to the level where you can see it, and when you can see it, you can shift it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you can see it, you can't shift it. Is that basically it?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
So these are all basic sets of orchestrations, but even then, the higher self doesn't say, oh, that was a terrible, evil thing you did there. It says, are you ready for a different expression or experience? Let's let this soul go on to its experience, and you go on to this experience, and we'll have a different one. And we obviously, I mean, we judge, maybe you, I don't know, I do. We judge the experience they were having as not so great, and the one they are having now as much better. But that's because we judge things from our perspective of what we think's better.
Yeah.
We don't think it's better to have a lot of fights with your wife, for example.
Yeah.
Do you think that's better?
Exactly, yeah.
But they want that experience, or what?
Right, yeah.
Why? How's that come about? It doesn't seem...
It's just experience.
No, but it doesn't seem like just experience when you're having it. It seems like hugely disruptive and yucky and frustrated.
It feeds those negative entities. It feeds those negative entities. It's like yummy honey for them. And if your spouse is one of those negative entities, or has a negative entity, they're getting fed too.
So it's a feeding festival?
It's
a feeding festival for the negative entities that you've asked to come have an experience with you?
Yes.
So you're only going to have to expect it's going to have its own bit of negativity involved.
Of course. Because a lot of these possessions, like I said, are drugs and alcohol, which are negative things for the human body and the soul. And also through traumas and fear, right? So fear-based decisions are never good. They never result in good things.
So, in reading the depossession techniques they were using, and I think considering the cleaning your entourage exercise that you have, and maybe the little light exercise where you put a light in your stomach area and a bright white light and make it big and surround you by 6 feet. What do you think's a good go-to for people if they're most everyone probably thinks like, oh my god, I probably got one. So what do? How do they get rid of it?
Yeah, I would use the cleaning your entourage exercise.
Right.
It's on the Guides and Angels class. I think it might be called cleaning your entourage.
I think it might be called cleaning your entourage.
I don't remember. We'll put the link on the show notes for that class. Definitely do that. And the light thing on your solar plexus, that's from that book, and I thought it was very good. I think it will work really well. But also make the statement of no more low frequency entities are allowed in my field. You know?
Right, and hold that conviction.
Hold the conviction.
Right. They are only there by your invitation. Mm-hmm. And they might have tricked.
Or subconscious.
They might have tricked their invitation into you.
Yeah.
So open your awareness, right?
Yep.
Open your awareness to the situations that existed. You may not even remember them.
You might have been newborn.
You might have been newborn.
2 years
you
old.
might have been 2 years old. You might have been a last lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. One of them carried one from a previous lifetime.
Yeah. If you have possessions from your previous lifetime, that being still exists, same as you still exist even after you die. And when you get into your new body, and it can recognize your frequency, it can find you again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's possible. A lot of people have a lot of Cling-ons. I just call them Cling-ons.
Cling-ons.
So clear your Cling-ons, because never are they there. Never are these ones there for a high frequency purpose.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a high frequency possession.
No.
That hasn't happened in the history of possession.
Right.
Well, I don't know if I can say that because I don't know, but what do you think?
Yeah.
Could a high frequency
so look
being
at the
come
word.
and possessed
Yes.
a high frequency person to carry out a high frequency task for the benefit all, including that person?
Well, there's channeling, there's
good,
mediumship, there's all these type of things, but they're not possessions. Why are they not possession? Look at the word possess. Okay, to own, to possess, possession. The entities that need to get through by owning and possessing another is power over that others, right?
Right.
It's a possession. It's like an ownership. Like they make the other person a slave. That's never positive. So yeah, possession is never positive. Now I have seen and I have spoken and I have experiences with individuals who will channel entities or spirits, speak with them, right?
Yeah.
And then also this lady who will have temporary possession of her body by these entities, and most of the time the information is pretty cool, but sometimes not so good.
Yeah.
Right? And we looked at that, and it appeared that the frequency of the information was directly related to her own personal frequency.
Oh yeah, definitely. And she mentioned that too, remember?
Once we saw it and we talked about it, she then mentioned it the next day, which kind of tells me that they were listening.
Yeah, I think they were
to our
listening.
conversations.
I remember that was so bizarre.
Yeah. So interesting, and I, like you said, a lot of people might think, "Oh no, I'm possessed. I'm gonna want this."
It's probably true.
It's probably true.
You are totally.
Yeah.
Many times. You probably have a whole pile of them. Matter of fact, they're called your entourage.
Well, that's different because the entourage is actually guides and people and entities who are with you and help you, and you help them through a joint experience, through a joint journey. But they're not possessing you. They're not on control of you. They're not telling you what to do or think or feel or making you feel those things. That's different. It's very different.
Well, what if you have low frequency beings in your entourage? Wouldn't they do that to you?
Yes, they will.
So basically,
they will possess you.
Basically, if you have low frequency things in your
path.
entourage, that can happen. So
Yeah,
I suppose we're both
you,
right.
They will lead you through into paths that create suffering and pain, and
Which
horrible
opens a
things
door for
them
possession.
to
Okay, right. So clean your entourage. That's the first step. Second step is
stop drinking alcohol.
Well, yeah, don't drink alcohol
Really?
and drugs.
I mean, come on.
Well,
and if you say, but it's only a beer.
It's the only beer. It's only the only thing that I have. I don't have anything else. My one vice, or whatever.
Yeah. Choose a different one, man.
Well,
Go
that's
rock
your
climbing.
possession speaking.
Yes,
Let me tell you.
That's right. Yeah.
You get rid of that possession.
So really,
guess what?
on the planet, there's no reason for a human being to be drinking alcohol. No reason at all. Like zero reason.
If you think there is, just remember the first time you tried liquor. You didn't go, oh my god, I gotta have more of this. Well, probably nobody did.
Some people did.
I don't know about that. I mean, I guess it's possible. Yeah, your body automatically rejects it.
Yeah.
And everyone that you watch, with very few exceptions, even with a lot of practice, still have that reaction. They have to hide it with lime or salt or chaser or whatever,
Yeah. Or fruit juice.
Fruit juice, or mix it till you can't taste it.
Yeah.
And then, at some level of palate, I guess, I don't know what you call it.
Entering Oregon.
Oregon, right in the middle of the river.
Yes, totally.
You've burned your taste buds to the degree where it begins to taste okay.
Exactly.
It's like I remember the first time I tried scotch, I thought it would be like butterscotch.
Oh,
But guess
no.
what? It ain't.
Oh my god, it's horrible.
Yeah, totally ain't.
Yeah,
But if you mix it with a lot of water and you drink a few of them, then it will taste okay.
right. Or tea and sugar.
Tea and sugar.
Yeah. But yeah.
And if you give a child a drink of alcohol, not that I ever did, but some of my kids might have been trained so that they knew don't drink it.
Right.
So I taught them that by letting them have a drink of it. And they were like, oh my God, I'm never drinking that in my whole life. And they haven't.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't. But not one of them said, oh wow, that was so good, give me more.
Well, I had a cousin.
You had a
He
cousin
was
who
2
did?
years old. He was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a party. And
Uh-huh.
a lot of the glasses were all over the place with the alcohol. This little 2-year-old went around the whole room picking up the glasses and drinking them until he fell over.
Oh my gosh.
2.
Well, I never give it any to a 2-year-old.
2. And I'm thinking, okay.
2-year-olds will drink Drano, honey. They had to put a sticker on it.
Exactly, yeah, they do.
So I don't think that counts.
But one of the things in the book is said most of these possessing spirits hang out in bars and
Did say that.
parties.
Bars,
Because they do. They hang out
cemeteries
in
and
cemeteries. Yeah.
funeral homes and hospitals.
Yes, hospitals.
So if you went to a hospital, got surgery, then you
operating
can pick them up
rooms.
there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people, the people who are possessing spirits also are just earthbound in that they don't really even know they died. Or they do, but they can't comprehend what the hell is going on now. Because for them it's basically I'm here and now nobody listens to me, I can't. What's
They can't hear me, they
they won't hear me, they ignore me. Why is everybody ignoring me? This isn't fair. And somehow or other they meet someone probably who's in that out of body state with the drugs or whatever when they get put in the hospital.
Yeah.
And they can rest there, and then all of a sudden they can feel things and people listen and they know it's wrong, but they don't know it's wrong. They're kind of like, one of the first tips was, she said, okay, look in the mirror. See this? This isn't you, right? And the spirits go like, yeah, that's true. It's not me.
That's not me.
But
That's not my face.
They kind of close their eyes when they go by mirrors. So, the basic depossession technique that they use is to engage that soul, earthbound spirit, whatever it is, have a conversation with them, bring them to the realization, make it known to them that what they're doing is XYZ. They're possessing somebody else's body and it's not good for them or the body.
Right.
And invite in their helpers or their spirit guides or their family or their loved one or whatever, right?
Their higher self.
Their higher self, dressed like
A Jesus or something.
Jesus, whatever works, whatever that person
Believes
will recognize and
higher
believe and trust.
frequency, Intelligence.
And go with
stuff
them
like-
into the light.
Yeah.
And usually seconds. Within seconds, they're like,
They're
oh
gone.
yeah, I'm out of here. Of course, the entertaining part of the book is some of the tougher ones. Who are like, I don't know, I kind of like getting drunk.
Yeah.
I think I'll come back. I'll just go hide for a little while till you think it's fine, and I'll come right back.
Yeah.
But those ones go away too. And a matter of fact, at the end of all of the hardest cases, they're all gone. All of them. Every time,
Yeah.
without exception. So, I guess it's one of those things that we can think about and we can resolve, like the Brown's gas thing that we're breathing.
Well,
Till a month ago, we weren't even aware of it,
Right.
and now that we're aware of it, and we have it brought it into our life to use for a little while, we notice a positive effect from the use of it. And maybe we keep it for the rest of life, and maybe we use it and we're done with it and we're rejuvenated and we don't have a need for it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The same with this possession thing. At this point in time, it feels to me like there's a lot of people on the planet who are possessed because they can't seem to get it through their head what's going on around them. They're like, gosh, how much do you got to see?
Yeah.
And remember that quote on the wall we wrote? Proof is useless because the only proof that you can see is the proof that you're want to believe or something like that. Yeah, so it feels like with possession that that is kind of what happened. Is like a giant ritual possession.
Is BB hot? Are you hot?
She's watching traffic. Could be that like the Super Bowl and the Academy Awards and the music festivals or whatever, where they have those giant satanic rituals, that look like halftime show.
Yeah.
They look like a halftime show until you
look at what they're doing.
Aware of what they're doing, and then you go, "Oh my God, that's possession rituals."
Yeah.
Maybe they're working.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think?
I mean, most of the population, the adult population on the planet, drinks alcohol, so of course it will work.
Oh my gosh, does your computer tell us to go this way or that way?
I don't know.
I just sort of guessed. And look, we're in the middle of Portland.
Oh no!
At 5 o'clock. Which road should I take?
When I'm giving Phoebe some water because she's thirsty, she's like, baby, puppy, baby. Yeah, that's better, baby. Girl.
Well, I hope this was the right way, because your Google gave me 2 notifications. And those
listen?
notifications are silent.
Because we're recording.
Because we're recording.
On my phone.
It says 2.5 miles, Salem, I-5 South. I-5 South. I guess we're all right.
Okay, cool. We'll leave the map on for you.
So, I was asking, what do you think? Did those rituals that they were doing, and those giant millions and billions of people watching things, halftime shows, etc., did they actually get them right, or have they always been getting them right, or do you think those had some of the effect? Because it seems like people are possessed. They're not using their mind. They're not using their... Mm-hmm. Even though at the level that we've been talking about this experience, it's an orchestration to bring about a physical split.
Exactly. So it's so easy to fall into the victim-aggressor stuff. Oh, they're doing it to the masses and all this type of thing, and they can't help themselves and this and that.
Yeah, but that's not how I'm thinking about it.
It's not like that. It is an orchestration, and
that's
individuals.
How I think about it. Yeah.
So here's how I see it.
Okay, tell me how you see it.
I've been telling people now for years that it appears that we, on the planet Earth, and this planet Earth, and the solar system, travels through space.
Yes.
That's how it feels. And it feels like we were coming up to a location in space where we can literally jump into a new level of awareness. A massive jump of high-frequency awareness. And the entire planet originally was booked to make that jump.
Okay, pause just a sec.
Okay.
When you say jump to a new frequency of experience, what does that even look like? I mean, what is that literally?
Exploration.
Literally, I mean,
it's
you wake up in the
world.
morning, we're in a different frequency reality. Does it
There's
still have
no
bridges?
Wars. Yeah,
there's no wars?
There's no wars. There's no poverty. There's no fear. There's no power over others.
So when you go hang out with people, it's basically like going to the shaman shack. Nobody there has a battle.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Or nobody has a cause to have a battle.
Right. There's no egos
just
bursting and fighting with each other.
There's no possessions.
No possessions. So we buy low-frequency stuff.
Low-frequency earthbound spirits hooking onto you. Causing you to
feeding on fear and arguments. No, none of that. So
your co-creative allies are supporting you instead of hindering you.
Technology is so high frequency, and the literal frequency of our technologies support life on planet Earth and not destroy it. Doesn't destroy.
So, like on Tuesday, this new fella you never even heard of invents a technology that's supportive of all life. In other words, if you drive your car, it makes the trees grow better.
Yes.
That kind of a thing powers it. And that's just invented tomorrow.
Yes.
And everybody's car gets switched to that, because not only does it make the trees go better, it doesn't really cost anything. You don't have to fill it up again.
Right.
It just sort of promotes the life of everything around it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of invention appears.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So it'd still be within the realm of what we accept as real, it just will be supportive instead of destructive.
Yes.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going through this area of the universe, or the galaxy, or space, right?
Right.
Oh no, puppy! Puppy's pulling on my cord.
Uh-oh. Careful.
I'll be careful. So we're going through this space in the universe that is more particles per billion or whatever, and higher energetics, and it brings about the opportunity for shift in frequencies of experience.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So we're
and
there.
Then a lot of people on the planet decided they weren't done with the power over others game, the low frequency game, or fear, or war, or any of those things, and it was a violation of their free will to
Force them to.
to raise their frequency and awareness. It was just a violation. So all these mechanizations about, the rituals and the possessions and all the alcohol on the planet and the war and the jab and everything else had to be brought about. And you can see all those things that I've mentioned are done by the people themselves, by their agreement, right?
Right.
Nobody forces them to drink alcohol. Nobody forces them to have a jab. Nobody forces them to watch fearful things all day long and go into fear. So all these things are free will choices. And all that effort and energy has to be spent because naturally they will raise their frequency and they will become more aware
So
at a natural state.
in a roundabout way, then, the ritualistic possession, ritual stuff at like Super Bowl halftime show or the music video awards or whatever are there to orchestrate about the choice that some people have made. Because I didn't watch that thing.
Right.
When I looked at it and it turned on, I was like, what the heck are they doing? Clicked it off, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you very much. Not for me. Goodbye.
Not for me, thank you.
I can't even watch it. It just repulses. It's repulsive.
Yeah.
Repulsive to the degree that I can't allow it even a moment existence in my field. That bad.
Yeah.
But for other people who want to have a different experience, they're like, oh man, look at that. Can you believe this fireworks or whatever they got going on over here, even though they don't like to see the little pyramid with the shiny eyes beaming a laser beam right into their third eye to blind them for a little while.
Right.
Or whatever,
Right, yeah.
Okay, so that is, they aren't a victim. That's an orchestration that they agreed to want to have. Otherwise, they couldn't really make that choice easily, right?
They wouldn't be able to carry out the choice.
They wouldn't be able to carry out their low frequency choice because they're a high frequency being. Is that
Exactly. Yeah, they're high frequency beings, and this part of the universe is a high frequency part of the universe.
So it's like really hard to stay
low
out of it.
frequency. Yeah.
You have to work hard.
Really hard. You have to work on it really hard to stay low frequency right now.
I think that's why we agreed that that team need billions and trillions and quadrillions and quintillions worth of dollars and effort, because the tide rises.
Yeah.
It takes $1 quadrillion to keep the tide from coming in.
Yes, it does.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, higher selves carry out the decisions of the physical, and the physical person's orchestrations bring about changes when it feels like they want to.
Yes.
And they want to do what they want to do. It's like, you love who you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some of those experiences are for clearing up a past, and some of those experiences are for the experience of having the experience of it.
Yes. Mostly it's an experience because you want to have the experience.
And even if it doesn't seem like you want to have that experience, apparently you do. Because you're having it.
Yeah.
If you didn't want that experience, you wouldn't be having it. Is that how it works?
Pretty much, yeah.
And if you are having one that you really, really don't want, for very, really, really, really don't want it, you could orchestrate it to change.
Change it.
You could change it. What about the little kids who's pounding on rocks that I watch in that show? How are they going to change it?
You know, we go back into the victim-aggressor stuff, but those are eternal divine beings who chose to be born there. They might change their mind.
I guess it's better than the ones that don't even have any rocks to pound.
Right. But also it's so different, and they have experiences in that
fit into
world that is different to what we can conceive of here.
And that their idea of comfort and pleasure is probably different than your idea of comfort and pleasure. They don't even care. Like my dad the other day, he was complaining because he can't type on his watch.
Exactly.
It's like, that's the biggest first world problem I ever heard in my life. I can't type on my watch. Oh, really? For you?
Yes.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Bigger watch? I don't know. Voice to text on your phone, on your watch. What do we got to do to fix this major problem?
Right.
There was another first world problem we had the other day. Remember?
No, I don't remember it. What was it?
It was equally ridiculous on a bigger level, but at the time, it was a pretty big problem. Like, this pink is the wrong pink, or something. Well, all of my socks are left feet. Be happy you got socks. Anyway, getting off topic here. Higher selves, choices, figuring it about, and trying to make sense of them at one level when they're made at another level. And that causes confusion. And part of the switching realities that we want to have is one that doesn't break our game while we're switching our reality.
Right.
Because if we come out of the game too far, we wouldn't be interested in the game, period. Is that how it works?
Well, the game is the experiences.
Right.
So if you don't have the experiences, you're not having the game.
So having the experience of shifting realities is the experience you want. That's why you're here right now.
Exactly. You got it.
So if you pull yourself out of it, you won't be having that experience. You'll have a different experience.
Right.
Which ain't the one you came for. Mm-hmm. Now I got it. My God.
That took a while, huh?
It's a long journey around the corner.
Yes.
How about those mantids?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The ETs, mantids.
The ET mantids, yeah, the ones that live underground, the ant people.
The ant people. I've heard several native people call them the ant people. Yeah. They can be met in the out-of-the-body experiences and shamanic journey, which is an out-of-the-body experience.
Yes.
I've heard of a lot of people meeting those, yeah.
Well, we listened to a really good...
about it.
We listened to a pretty darn good story about it this afternoon.
Yeah, from Cliff High, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I thought it was so hilarious.
I'm still like absorbing it because it has just the right amount of interesting bits that are inconceivable to some degree. It's like if you live on a planet that has no water and you've never experienced water and you never heard of water and you never even, wonder about it, because not only doesn't it exist,
how could you even wonder about it?
You can't see it.
It doesn't exist there, right?
You can't even conceive of it existing.
Yeah.
How do you explain water to somebody, right? And what it is and how to make it or how to use it or how to get some to someone who's never even, it doesn't even enter their universe. So Cliff's experience with the mantids, and in this case it wasn't the mantid in water, it was another species having issues with something, and he was trying to describe something to them, or did describe something to them, to deal with their problem that they couldn't conceive of a way to deal with because they had never encountered something like that in their universe, They only encountered the opposite. And in the roundabout way, he created a relationship with his beings, and they exchanged information back and forth, meet, talk, conceive, look at problems from an entirely a perspective that he, as a human being in a soul body, in a human body, can't even conceive of, right? Mm-hmm. And they, being in a completely different circumstances, look at it and go, oh, well, look at this YZ and T times 3. It's simple. And he's like, you're right. I should put that in my little program.
Yeah.
He puts it in a little program, and out comes, oh my gosh, looks like Bitcoin's going to $100,000. I don't know how you get from there to there, but, listen to the story. It's kind of fun. But his experience with the mantids were that they were born, hatched at their apex, and they live very, very, very long time, but everything's downhill from birth. And the way that they grow as a group, because they only work as a group, is by chemical bathing their eggs with the information and the data that comes. And so learning is through the chemical process of their eggs. And when the eggs hatched, that's the apex of the information.
Right.
And everything from there on out is old data for that individual. But the little things are born and they're market orders to start with because they're the smartest thing. And the old ones got to listen because that's how they learn, was by having their young smarter. Something like that. That was pretty interesting concept, right? I could see how it's totally different. So they work on conscious level, and he had said them guys are in charge of all this greater reset, direct reset, take over the world kind of thing, which I'm just going to say right here that he's a self-admitted paranoid. So that might be a stretch.
Yes.
But if there were to be a cause for it, I totally agree. That seems reasonable. Extra-dimensional mantids planting thoughts in Chinese communist heads.
Oh my god.
It doesn't sound bad when you say it out loud.
Oh, it does sound really bad when you say it out loud. It does.
Okay, well,
it really does.
Okay, well, how about we just hold that one as a possible, maybe plausible?
Well, again, we go to the power over others thing.
But no, it's not power over others because there's a bunch of people signed on for this.
The mantids are
it's
telling
the same
them what to do.
It's the same as the ritual in the Super Bowl. Just because it's mantids doesn't mean it's any different. Somebody need to orchestrate this stuff, and the communist Chinese can't figure this out down on their own. They're going to need a little help.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, until we have evidence that says it's not true, and I don't know how you're going to find that. We just have to go with it.
Okay. Well, I won't be teaching people about that.
Okay. Don't worry about the mantids yet.
Oh my gosh.
But if one shows up, we will have a talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. If one shows up, for reals.
Alright. If one shows up, then we'll talk about it. We'll talk to Ish about it too.
Unfortunately, the method, the shamanic level of the shamanic spaceship to go meet them is beyond the acceptable.
It's not shamanic, it's just drug infused.
Well, shamans around the world use drugs. I know they do. They use whatever that peyote ceremonies. They have mezcal or whatever that thing's called. Not all of them.
That's the popular ones because white
I don't
culture.
Know.
Ooh, drugs. Yeah,
I'm just gonna say this.
So
I've done psychedelics also, and they are. I mean, there are probably some people that it's okay. It's just like you do it once, and you're like, okay, that's enough for a couple of years or a decade. It's not like drugs. Like I'm gonna go take that.
But that's the image that people think when they think of shamanic journeys through drugs. They think it's something that shamans do every day, and they take a ton of drugs, and that's not true.
I agree, that's not true, but there are some shamanic
and a lot of
tourists
them don't even bother because they can do it without the drugs.
I don't disagree with that either.
The drugs for people who can't get past their ego.
I believe that's true also.
But anyways,
the way that he goes to talk to the mantid is not a way I'm going to do it.
Because he takes a lot of mushrooms.
A lot of them. And it works. It works for him because here's the thing. And this is one of those...
But he's also said that he's paranoid.
Well, that's maybe true.
Schizophrenic. So it's probably not a coincidence. And you check drugs, he probably came back with a ton of different personalities.
Maybe yes. But one of the things that's interesting is that he made the journey multiple times, met the same person, and had the same conversation that was a continuing conversation, made a date,
body experiences.
Made a date and a time to meet someone and met them multiple times, brought back information that was actionable and usable.
So did the Monroe guy from the Monroe Institute, and guess what? They don't use drugs. Boom.
So that doesn't mean the drugs don't work, does it?
No.
Just means both ways are a path to the same place.
Yes.
Or that place is accessible through multiple means.
Yeah.
You did say that, some drugs, chemical drugs like LSD and DMTs, those ones slam you from here to there and you lose or leave behind your parts of you. And the mushroom way, or one of the cactus ones, not peyote but a different one, those ones were only usable if you had skill, because it isn't a slam you there, and the skill was the focus that you were using, and you brought I would call it some of your ego construct with you, but your self,
personality,
yourself,
your consciousness and awareness.
So you're able to manipulate the reality consciously. In other words, bring your consciousness with you instead of just slam over there and you're missing like 80% of you. Like DMT, I think I heard anyway, they take a breath of it and they're like gone instantly, and it lasts for 4 minutes and then they're back.
Wow.
So it's like, bang. But I don't know what kind of an experience that is. I never met anyone who had a history of those type of experiences who was their life was improved by it, besides one person.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Who?
Cliff, obviously. He cured his own cancer, right?
Oh, right.
And he's made a ton of money with the advice that he got, which turned out to be true and accurate. Yeah. Bitcoins and all the other stuff. And he has a beautiful house. He has wonderful stories. And his life isn't
multiple personalities.
Worse. Maybe. But there seem to be under control to some degree. His life is better than it isn't getting worse.
Okay.
His life
I
is
couldn't
better.
say that because I didn't know him before, so I couldn't really accurately make that statement.
Yeah, I knew of him for a decade at least, and when I first started listening to him, he spoke of his start of life. He was an aggressive army brat with schizophrenia and a lot of issues, and it was a lifetime of Aikido and martial arts and meditations and those kind of explorations and control that brought him the ability to handle what was going on in his brain, I guess.
Right.
And then his psychedelic experiences, apparently he was able to differentiate between those types. I mean, LSD, we've seen the LSD acid guys, or does the ayahuasca ones, or a lot of those people's lives, they're not improved. Maybe improved from heroin addict to not heroin addict.
Right.
That's an improvement, right?
Yeah.
So we can't say that all of them, but the ones that are on it always doing it don't seem like, besides the part of bringing it to people who might get out of a very low frequency area,
that shaman
not better.
From that show we watched, Humano,
yeah.
He said it really, really well. He said, these are sacred plants that are here to serve humanity.
Right.
But if the person takes too much, then they become the servants of the plant.
Yep.
And not the other way around. I think he
that's
said
a good
really
way
well.
to say it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So take sparingly and only if the person really, really needs it. Because, the guy in Monroe Institute, he can do it without the drugs, and he was very, very good at it. And his methodology is used by many, many people around the planet with excellent results. We're talking about out-of-the-body experiences here, and moving through dimensions. Interdimensionally, with your energy bodies. So it can be done in many ways. And I still suggest for people not to take drugs. I haven't seen long-term positive results from people taking drugs. So that would be my stand on it. And yeah, he's having good results, but I don't know, I can't really compare what he was like before or after. So. And he did do, like he said, lots of martial arts to bring everything back to center,
Right, so he's not recreationally using it or going for recreational exploration, and it was through accident that he found the amount that brought him to an interdimensional place. That's where he met the mantid, remember? Mm-hmm. Who immediately kicked him out of there. Yeah. He was angry at the time, still an angry youth, so he went back there and focused his focus and hardened himself. And then he started to have, I don't know. This is the first time I really heard him talk about these experiences. So
Right.
It's interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm here to tell you,
if a person is willing to spend years learning Aikido, meditation, and all these other things, and then has
from that state using
and then
interdimensional plant assistance to get to a place to do a job.
That's fine, but the problem
different.
is that people think it's a shortcut, and it isn't. And the results are not long-lasting anyways, you know?
Totally no.
Or necessarily positive.
Right, because... Can we have one of those?
What?
Sure. That was a Beamer, by the way. I think it was an M5. Anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah. There's more to explore there. I just... everyone
So are you
has
going to
their
start taking
personals.
mushrooms?
No, because I did...
Why?
Well, I will tell you 3 reasons.
Okay. Number one,
when I went to explore the psychedelic world, the first time I went to explore it, it was too big of a world. Everything became too big of a world. Do you know what I mean by too big of a world?
too much information?
The game became much bigger.
Okay.
There was trees talking. There were non-physical, non-visible, became visible. There were orchestrations within orchestrations within orchestrations within orchestrations, which became visible. Mm-hmm. There were synesthesias, where music, sounds were physical, and you could watch them go through the wires. In other words, the world became too big. Mm-hmm. You would be happy to sit in your room, and everything in your room is more than enough to entertain you for the rest of your life.
And that's what a lot of people do.
But at some point, without proper training, you get lost in it. Mm-hmm. And when you become lost in it, you get terrified, and it ejects you. Mm-hmm. Ejects you from wanting to do it again without training. So the investment in training is an investment in an entire different reality, and that's not the reality I'm here to work with.
You're here to work with the physical world experience, right? Reality.
I'm here to work with this world experience, is how it feels, right? And not that one. That one exists, and it's also present, but I don't have I just feel a repulsion from accessing it not just that way, just that period.
So that's number one?
There is a firewall to going through it and doing it and having that as a part of my life. Okay. And number 2? Yeah. You said no.
I said no.
So my co-creator in life is is opposed to that whole process. Which, that's a valid reason, right?
I said no to me. I didn't say... I suggest that people don't do it, but
yeah,
so I didn't say no to you.
Well, if you suggest that people don't do it, why would I go ahead and do it? You suggest that I don't drink Pepsi-Colas out of McDonald's, and that was probably good advice, and I don't.
Yes, it's true.
So there's probably more reasons than I'm cognizant of not to, and if I asked you for specifics about it, there's specifics to you, but your advice hasn't ever steered me wrong, so I'll take your advice. So that's 2.
And 3?
And 3, I don't want to meet no mantids.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet a mantid.
Yeah.
And if I want to access those interdimensional realities, then I'll do it with you in a way we can do together.
Yeah, and we have.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Those are the 3 reasons.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like it.
I'd probably have 4 or
reasons.
5 or 6 if I wanted to really
Really look at it.
But it's just not a part of my life.
That's true, yeah.
I'm not going to invite it in. Oh, that was his 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the potential for possession and the probability of Cling-ons, real sneaky Cling-ons, and the level of work that you're doing and the probability that there's, what's the word? Anyone
hijacked.
who is close to you
Must keep their
needs to keep the
open
doors
negativity.
slammed closed. Open doors negatively slammed closed, or else they will be used against you.
Yeah, they will.
Not me,
Happens all
against
the time.
you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's a 4th very good reason to avoid it entirely.
Yeah.
Because one of the key aspects that I found in my relationship with you is, and I need to be diligent about it, is that
Anytime
those
a little
doors
indulgence.
need to be slammed shut,
Yeah,
kept
they do.
shut. And so indulging in psychedelic drugs, even the word drugs,
Without
indulging in psychedelic plant medicines, however you want to say it, there
Without
is
the
a
training.
loss of control of my, what is the word? When you do that, you're no longer in control of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that loss of control of those things is
means
paramount.
somebody else will control them.
Right, so I cannot do it. If I was a boring target, yeah, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do here. Try and take me to the bar ain't gonna work. But if I went mushrooming, maybe I might catch one of them
Drunks.
drunk spirits who want to take me to the bar, and I'll have the fist fight in my hands, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just blast them with that white light, honey. But I have to know that I need to. Also,
Alright.
it's really tricky.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to skip it.
Yeah, just skip it.
I'll just skip it. Those are the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
For other
Good
people,
reasons.
they might not have those reasons. They might have different reasons to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I would say be sure to evaluate your life after and make sure this is actually better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One
I agree.
one peak, if you're like so dumb like I was that you're hard to believe that it's real. One peak's enough. Yep, it's real. Totally real. Believe me, it's real. Okay.
Done.
Done.
Yeah. Well, I think that is complete, isn't you?
Yeah.
That topic.
I'm pretty sure we did zigzag quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty interesting things to talk about.
I think so too.
So I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yes.
Love you, honey.
I love you too, darling.